proper wine for proper heroes. Maybe I'm not the most pleasant man, I'll admit it, but...
It's always interesting when you're starting a new season, and you know the question always is, what do you start with? You either start with something small to kind of ease your way in, or you just start with something huge and get it over with, and you can put that behind you. In this case, we started with something really huge.
Okay, everybody's dying out there, and action.
That was your mistake. Leave one wolf alive, and the sheep are never safe.
And I love that scene, because you come into this and you're like, wait a second, Walter Frey's dead. How is this possible? What's going on?
I was thrilled that they'd made a full head prosthetic, which fitted my face, but I looked like David Bradley. As an actor, to really reveal yourself and take another face off your face rather than just pretend, that just made it a lot easier and a lot more fun, I guess.
It's the actors just kind of pulling on their own skin, really. And then it's really done in cuts, where the arm movement and where you place the camera. Having Walter Frey do that, and then having Arya repeat that, but from a different camera angle that looks like something's come off, and it's very effective. What makes it extremely effective is Maisie's performance, because she just sells it so beautifully. And I love the moment when she turns to Walter's wife and says,
When people ask you what happened to you, tell them the North remembers.
I think it's a great opener for the season. I think it's a great reintroduction to Arya, where she's coming from and where she's heading.
She realizes her power, and I guess, yeah, maybe there is the argument that you didn't have to kill the whole Frey army, but they weren't good news. I don't think we'll miss them.
I think, starting with the Army of the Dead, basically why that's really important is that this is the common enemy. This is like the bottom line. This is what everybody in the end is going to have to face. It's the enemy that is beyond all enemies. It's like the one thing that nobody really knows how to fight. And so the big question is, are these people going to get their act together? Are they going to figure out a way to fight the big enemy, or are they going to just eat each other alive before that even happens?
So for Zombie Giants this year, we've got 2 returning cast. We've got Ian White, and we've got Neil Fingleton, who was with us on season 4. They're similar makeups, but we have kind of interchangeable little bits and pieces, and we do a slightly different paint scheme. We can have different costume as well. So it's creating 4 different looks. So for the Whites, this year we decided that we'd up our game a little bit, and we've resculpted an awful lot of the zombies, their makeups. They're still very mix and match and generic, because we have a huge amount of stunt guys, but we just thought we would change things up and improve some of the sculpts. It's been a huge production line, but it's something we were able to use a few existing molds and then make a load of new stuff as well.
It's a pretty song. I've never heard it before.
It's a new one.
Ed Sheeran's got a beautiful voice, and we knew he was a fan of the show, and we knew that Maisie was obsessed with him. So we always thought it would be fun to try to get him into a Maisie scene at some point.
When I first got the scene, and I was a Lannister soldier, and it was with Maisie, I just assumed we'd all get killed at the end.
Action.
I don't want to steal your food.
You're not stealing, we're offering. Come on, it's going to be a cold night.
Just a nice moment for her to really enjoy human company without lies and trickery.
But I think the underlying theme is that, as in any war, the soldiers are just people and we are young boys.
She really enjoys just hearing their stories and finding a bit of normality again.
And I think she kind of realises that she can just kind of chill, let her guard down, have some food and crack some jokes.
So why is a nice girl on our own heading to King's Landing?
I'm going to kill the Queen.
And then to High Garden?
Then you go to High Garden.
What is this?
It's what we've been waiting for our whole lives.
Shooting that map room scene was a really big thing, and very extensive conversations with Lena and Nikolai about that.
You afraid of me?
Should I be?
There's a great amount of need for revenge for her. Enemies to the south. It's like she needs to put everything to sleep that causes her pain. Enemies to the north.
She's now just on this very driven, focused path to world domination.
And of course, we're introducing this whole new set, which is in this courtyard in the Red Keep, where there's a hand-painted map. Of course, you want to show this incredible thing. And also it has great metaphorical value. There she is walking all over the known world when thinking about, ruling it. So you kind of want to do justice to that aspect of it as well.
We thought that a painted map on the ground, that seemed like a good idea.
Enemies everywhere. We're surrounded by traitors.
We knew that Jim Staines, the graphic designer, would create something amazing, and he worked so hard on it.
We wanted to have some allusion to the opening title sequence, and that just meant using some of the lettering, some of the imagery, and coming up with good colors, and then working it out basically on a computer. Then we had an image which we could print out, which was the right size. Had to do pseudo-medieval drawings of towns, lots of lettering, lots of conversation with the designer especially. Then we had two guys come in, Dave Packard and Greg Winters, who came in to actually paint the image that I designed onto the floor.
The man who is firmly but politely dismissed at the beginning of the scene by Jaime Lannister is indeed Jim Staines, who designed and created the map to begin with.
I don't think being down on his knees for quite so long was as much fun as he thought it would be, but he did well.
Very nice. Okay, moving on.
Seymour.
There is some fun to be had, I think, in seeing Sam in this new environment where, he really came here to the kind of tower of knowledge to learn the secrets of the known and unknown world. And he's really just, a cog in this machine.
Sam has quite a miserable time. A man's dreams not matching up to the reality.
We don't lean on montage that often in the show, partly because montages, to do them right, take a lot of time and a lot of resources. Bernie came to us at one point. She said, we've got 3.5 days scheduled for this montage, which is a long time to shoot what is maybe a 2-minute montage.
In the end, when we cut the scene together, it was hilarious.
Going back to a place that created you and that was the beginning of you and the end of your family is kind of epic.
Danny coming home was a really interesting sequence, and I think what was really lovely was that doing it for Game of Thrones, you're doing a sequence like that, you can really do it properly. Like, you can really take your time with it. You can really give it its due as a real moment.
Because there's no dialogue, it puts more weight on Amelia, who's doing all of this with her face and her actions and her movement. It puts a lot of weight on the art department because the place itself is really the other main character.
The space has to be something that Daenerys feels very connected to, where everything that she's heard about is suddenly somehow in front of her.
That was exciting to do, and the locations that we shot in Spain for it were absolutely stunningly beautiful.
We had to find somewhere that had a certain weight and power to it. And when we arrived at Zumaya Beach, the geological formations there are so unique and so special and so interesting that they have a weight to them that I think none of us could ignore.
Actually, quite often, we have to split location for the same scene. The end result was we decided that we could do most of what we wanted to do in 2 locations, split between Spain and Northern Ireland.
The arrival is shot in Zumaya. You then get up onto the platform, go up a set of stairs, and then we're on stage here in Belfast. And then once she goes through those doors here, then you pick her up again in San Juan, where she goes up the steps to the castle. Those locations together informed for me the whole design of Dragonstone. And it all came from those really unique rock formations, which are so, so special and very unique just to that part of the world.
The Gates of Dragonstone. It's probably going to be on film for about 30 seconds, but so much detail and work went into this set.
2 giant dragon heads were carved by our sculpting team, with the most beautiful, big, massive doors that were designed and built here.
The locations in Spain, you had that very strong rock formation, that very strong strated look.
And we were able to bring in those beautiful geological formations in those side corridors.
We had to use the rocks from the location. We sent out a team of plasterers to Spain. They took impressions of the stone. And from those, we created moulds, and we used those rocky shapes to create the shapes of the corridors in the cave. There's that kind of physical, geological journey that we were able to design. And then that all culminated in the throne room, where we had to create like a new architecture. It's a lot of work. It was very, very labour intensive.
I can do it without looking.
Brilliant. It's going to be dramatic.
Yeah, it's really dramatic. Yeah, the angles are fantastic.
Dragonstone, of course, had been established in previous seasons before I came, so we had the Dragonstone map room, so it was already established as a cave-like space. So I wanted this set to sort of start in the cave and grow out of it. And then we were able to bring in those beautiful geological formations in that throne, you know, the Dragonstone throne, which I think is, you know, a really powerful sort of statement.
The only directions we gave her was that it should be quite imposing and intimidating, and that the throne would be carved out of the rock, and that was it. Like, that's all we gave her, and then she went to town with that. The first time we saw it all lit for a scene, that was pretty dramatic.
As we were building it, people would walk through this set and they would feel, I feel very uncomfortable here. It's not a room where I want to spend a lot of time. So it was a new approach to an audience chamber, which was not welcoming people in. It was basically making people feel uneasy and intimidated.
Yeah, I think it's maybe the best set that we've ever built.
It was really impressive. We couldn't wait to shoot it.
The audience chamber is incredible. One of the most staggering sets that I've had the privilege of being in.
Every moment of that journey from the ship to the place where she's actually going to stand and plan her conquest, there's a different flavor to each one of those moments.
And you realize this place where she was born, there was a whole culture there, there's a whole world there. And you get a real taste of it and the uniqueness of it. And the coming home is really very dramatic.
Shall we begin?
You're on.
The boat itself is a big fuck you boat built by a big fuck you guy.
It's one of those things where the silence was written bigger than what we could actually afford to build. And so we had to be clever about the way we did that.
We decided that the best way to really put across the true size of this boat was to build a section of it, the bow section that rams into Yara's boat.
And so we designed a big naval ram that was on the front of that boat that would then crash into Yara's. And that was an opportunity to reintroduce the Kraken. And also we had the Corvus itself.
We built the Corvus so that it became lightweight and very strong. We had a stuntman standing on the end, but obviously a controlled fall, so we had to make sure we had the right speeds, which meant that we had to control it with a wrench system.
Here we go. And 3, 2, 1.
One of the major challenges in the boat sequence was how to, sell the idea that this was happening at sea, that they were floating on water, and yet we're in a car park in Northern Ireland. Sam's first ever was, well, we'll just blast a load of water against the sides and it will splash up. By having this splash up, there was immediate visceral connection with the ocean.
We had green screens 60 feet high, all the way around the ship. So, you know, there isn't really a direction that the camera can face that we don't have to do something.
We're big believers that real photographed elements are what helps sell the reality of our scenes.
Part of the look of it all, having a lot of embers burning through the shot as if all the boats are on fire. So we created ember guns. We had some larger rigs as well. We had a couple of moments where the whole sort of section of the mast would come collapsing down. Part of the battle is Ewan's crews fire the burning projectiles at Yara's crew. Our effect there is really a lighting effect, which was basically a flare. Sometimes we had flares fired freehand, and sometimes we had flares fired down wires.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, action!
You're not dying today, Sir Jorah. The operation on Jorah was one of the major technical challenges for me in episodes 2 and 3. 99% of the credit goes to Barry and his incredible prosthetics team.
It's something we hadn't necessarily done before, and it's like almost everything we do with prosthetics. It's all trial and error. We had to devise a way of removing the top outer skin of this disease and having an underlayer beneath which could bleed, and we'd have pus and various gooey things. And I think we had a team of 4 applying his body makeup.
My call, I was picked up at the hotel at 1:45 in the morning, and it was 5 or 6 hours to get the full top body prosthetic done.
Okay, stand by to rip, please. Ripping in 3, 2, 1, rip!
It was, you know, literally the first day of shooting of the season, and it's a 4.5-page, incredibly intense scene. So it was a heck of a thing to ask Indira and Lena and Rosa to drop into on day 1 of shooting.
It's acting. So you put yourself in a difficult emotional place, you put yourself in the shoes of the character, and you go there.
What did you take? One Seymour.
I never got to have a mother, but Marcella did. She was mine, she was the best thing I ever did, and you took her from me. Why did you do that? Obviously she wanted revenge for Marcella. And what way is more painful than watching your daughter die, unable to touch her? As she wasn't.
Action.
I want you to know I understand.
The scene for everybody in the audience, for me anyway, is about satisfaction of revenge. Instead of indulging the character's sadism, the being the arch baddie that we all love to hate, her approach is that this character is a 3-dimensional mother and human being. She plays it almost with an unwillingness, like a runaway train that she has no control over, that she cannot stop herself. And I thought that was such an incredible choice.
Rosabelle and I had to wear manacles, and we were tied to the wall. And we had trouble, because either they'd come undone because we were fighting against them, or I couldn't get them off. And literally, at the end of the day, I was like, mate, can't get it off. Can someone help me? And everyone's gone. Pete from props is like, I think we need a saw. And I had to be sawn out.
Thank you very much for an excellent day. I know it was a very tough day to start with. Everyone's work's appreciated. That's indeed a wrap. Thank you, guys.
Everyone has been waiting for the Stark children to be reunited, me included, and the chance to bring them together was very exciting.
Your list of people I'm going to kill.
Probably the scene I was looking forward to the most was the scene between Sansa and Arya in the crypt when they're standing in front of the statue of their father.
Pretty sad, but just so powerful. Doesn't look like him. Should have been carved by someone who knew his face. As I read the progression of the season, I realised it wasn't going to be all fun and games on set, but to have Sophie around on set again, it's just been the best.
We were really excited. Like when we first got the scripts, we were texting each other, "Did you read all the scripts yet?" And I'm like, "Not yet." And then I read that we reunited, and then I rang her up and I was like, "Oh my God, I just cried. Like, I can't believe this is happening finally."
Keep it settled, thank you. Just hold that for us for now. Yes, hold that, ladies. Thank you. Try and resist each other.
You got that?
It's tricky.
It's complicated.
It's been so much fun. She's my best mate.
And everyone's like, "Oh, it's so nice you girls are back together again." And I was like, just you wait, because by week 2, you're all gonna hate us, because we're very annoying when we're together. Before we left the camp. Thanks a lot.
Rolling, rolling. Cue marker. Boards are on. Clearing.
The fun thing about the Aria Brienne thing was I don't think we had to do too much to it to make it really fun to watch, because everybody's wanted to see these two together for a long time. And if they didn't know they did, they certainly do the minute the two of them meet.
Nice.
It was so exciting to train for that fight, and we trusted each other.
But to be fighting Gwen, who is far over a foot taller than me, and for her to be, you know, fighting someone who's far, far shorter than her, it's been a massive challenge.
Generally, as you attack, you move forward, and as you defend, you move back. And they have completely different sizes of gait, of step. That was a big challenge to choreograph that and deal with those issues. We use stunt doubles for their skill sets and also to put them in harm's way to a degree.
3, 2, 1, action.
In a fight, it's so much more than just choreography. Every movement says something about the character. It tells the story of these two very different warriors. Who taught you how to do that?
No one.
In terms of the mythology of the show, that here you have this secret Targaryen meeting a dragon, and you're not sure what's going to happen when they come face to face. And Drogon is huge and immediately comes right at him aggressively, and Jon stands his ground, and it's a beautiful moment. And standing out there on this cliff in Northern Ireland with 40, 50 mile an hour winds whipping through, shooting the scene with Kit Harington and his cloak blowing like a superhero in the wind, reaching out and touching this giant green dragon head, which sounds like it would be silly, but in the hands of great actors, you know, like him, great actors can make you believe what you're seeing, you know, and being out there on that cliff top was pretty extraordinary.
Okay, that's you.
Dany, she doesn't want to see her dragon eat him, but she would like to see him sweat a little bit. I think she probably is about 85% sure that the dragon's not going to eat Jon. And then it's shot, intentionally shot in such a way where she loses sight of him for a while because of the way the dragon's neck rises up, and it makes the moment entirely between Jon and the dragon and takes Dany out of the equation for a couple of crucial seconds in the scene.
But I quite liked that moment with the dragon, and there was something I wanted to bring to it, which is quite animalistic. If you show a vicious animal fear, it will jump on that, but if you show it bravery, then it will respond in a different way. I thought that was exciting to play.
Well, we have a big scene with a polar bear.
So you're in a blizzard, your visibility is 10 feet, and you've got something that's out there that you don't know where it's going to come from. It's very much like a shark attack.
It felt like a real collaboration in building that sequence. It was the script, it was VFX, and it was my ideas, and also I've worked with a wonderful storyboard artist, made the scene richer.
It's a big CGI polar bear. We did it in a big CGI box. And they said to us at the start, this is going to be quite confusing because you won't have any sense of direction. And it was a bit weird.
Yeah, so the polar bear fight was a real challenge because obviously we don't have a zombie polar bear. I have got a big guy in a green suit.
I've had people going, oh, when I'll come towards you, I'm a bear. No, you're not. Your name's Toby. It's pretty weird, to be honest.
Well, for me, being a horror nerd, I was slightly giggly, so I was like, oh, my very own zombie.
Action!
As the box comes down, I run out towards the Queen. Go to try and get her, which I've got a chain around my neck, which is stopping me going anywhere.
She's back as a kid, just realizing that everything her grandma, her nannies told her was real.
I turn round to run towards the hound. He chops me in half.
So that, strangely enough, one white way more complicated than 10,000 whites, because you're dealing with a white with a lot of detail. So it's behavioral, it's visual effects to make the white look like he's bones and shredded skin and doing a lot of very complicated things, and a lot of visual effects required for that. It's very specific actions, which make a very exciting dynamic sequence, but are very tricky in terms of shooting.
We can destroy them by burning them, and we can destroy them with dragon glass.
And in many ways, it's a scene between John and Cersei. He's there to prove to her that there's a bigger enemy for them to worry about than them just kind of fighting each other.
There is only one war that matters. The Great War.